Well, what a privilege to talk with you once again. We got to talk about your upcoming movie, Whitebird, Andrew. I just watched it. So good. So I have so many
It's
things, so little time to
yeah.
talk about it. But for anybody who may not know you, I think everybody knows you. But let's talk about some of your other box office hits. I can only imagine Jesus Revolution, Unsung Hero, I Still Believe. So many amazing projects. And now we have Whitebird in theaters October 4th. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad we get to talk about this movie.
Yeah, Alita, it's always a privilege to talk to you. And I'm so excited that, they're still letting us tell stories for a living. So I'm grateful.
Well, you're good at it. Tell us what Whitebird is all about.
So there was a movie in 2017 called Wonder, and it starred Julia Roberts and Owen Wilson, and it was about a little boy named Augie that had physical challenges and some disabilities, and as a result, got bullied a lot. And he overcame those bullies by just really the power of his kindness.
Yeah.
And I remember when I saw that in theaters with my kids, I was just like, if I could be involved in anything like that, we would do whatever.
Yep.
Little did I know that a filmmaker that has been a hero of mine for a long time, named Mark Forster, was already planning to make a spin-off sequel. And so this story picks up where that one left off. There's a little, and the boy was bullied by a kid named Julian in the first movie, and now we fast forward a couple years in the future where Julian has now been expelled from school for his bullying, and he's wrestling with trying to start over. And he comes home after a particularly hard day to find out that his grandmother is visiting from France, and his grandmother is played by Oscar winner Helen Mirren. And Helen sits down and says, "Julian, you don't know the history of your family, and you don't know the history of your name. I need to tell you your history instead of being a bully of what you're really supposed to be about." And she tells her story of being a little girl in Nazi occupied France during World War II, and about another little boy that risked his life and had the courage to have kindness and stand up for her as a little Jewish girl growing up in Nazi occupied France during the Holocaust. And it is a fantastic, beautiful, whimsical love story that when I saw the film, I was like, I'll do whatever. We have to be involved in this.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's beautifully done. Uh, the the music, the videography, just every piece of it is so beautiful. Obviously, kindness is one of the themes highlighted in the movie,
Yeah.
obviously. But what are some of the other themes that the first things that come to your mind when you think of what you want people to think about when they're watching this movie?
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark Forrester that directed it, has done movies that I love, like Finding Neverland and Christopher Robin and A Man Called Otto. He's just a master storyteller. But what he kind of breathed into this story was kind of building on what the first movie had done with Wonder, which you're right, it was about kindness. But this one adds in the element of courage.
Yeah.
And Helen Mirren says to her grandson at one key point, she said, "When kindness can cost you your life, it becomes somewhat of a miracle." And so when you add courage to kindness, there's something truly special that happens. And the moment that sold me that we had to be a part of this movie was when the Jewish kids at this school are being rounded up by the SS, in the Nazi military, um, and they said that they're going to take them to their parents, but really they're taking them to concentration camps. The priest who's the headmaster at the school and some of the nuns that are teachers put their lives on the line for these little Jewish kids. And one of the nuns gets onto the transport and says, "I go where my children go," knowing that she's accepting her fate, that she's probably going to a concentration camp. And as Christians, I was like, that is true courage. And I think there's a courage that sometimes is in the American church that I don't know that we fully understand yet. And when you have the the wherewithal and the courage to do the right thing, even at great cost, that's when I think the gospel grows legs and illustrates that verse of greater love have no man than he would lay down his life for his friend. And I think that's what we're called to, and I think that's true Christianity, and I think this film illustrates that.
As you said that, I thought to myself, this little boy risks his life his parents risked his life for this little girl, and it wasn't because they were friends.
No, no, I
That
mean
was
it.
so
Yeah,
powerful to me.
yeah. The girl, the Jewish girl that the story is about, that eventually Helen Mirren's the older version of that girl. She was not. She wanted to be popular, and she was not kind to this kid because he was called a German word that means little crab, because he had to walk with a crutch because he was crippled. And and so they made fun of him, and she didn't really make fun of him as much as she just ignored him. She didn't know he existed, and she didn't want to be made to look bad by being with him. She was more worried about how her shoes looked. And when that fateful day came along where everyone was arrested, the only person that stood up for her and saved her life was this little boy, and his name was Julian, as well. And so um, uh, it was just amazing to see that play out, which kind of really goes back to Jesus telling the story of the Good Samaritan, where everybody was like asking him, like, who is my neighbor? And they were thinking like, it is their literal neighbor. And he picked out a Samaritan that they felt like was completely unworthy, but that's the one he illustrated, like, no, it's about loving the person that you don't think is qualified, or that is not like you. And so I think that preaches in this film for sure.
Yeah. The other theme that I just kept coming back to was there was this glimmer of hope. There was this glimmer of hope that
Mhm.
they were going to get through this. They were going to get through
Yeah,
this. And so it's like, okay, she can make it through this. And yeah, it's just beautiful of the thread of hope and freedom. I
yeah,
love the symbolism of freedom throughout it as well.
yeah. I think both hope and freedom are important to us. Hope is particularly a signature of any film that we're a part of, that we want to leave the audience. There's enough in the world that leaves people depressed, and we want to leave people with hope, even with telling really hard stories like parts to this one are, to leave somebody believing that there's hope for a new day. And I think what Mark did with this film, and that I thought was brilliant, and I didn't think it was possible, is he took a very tough period of time and a very hard story, and he made it a whimsical love story.
Yeah.
And just some of those moments that happen in that barn within the kid's imagination.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and he's done it before, like what he did with Finding Neverland. It's like he has the ability to unlock the imagination. And it's such a beautiful, filled with heart, uplifting story in the midst of a really hard circumstance. And I don't know how he did both at once, but he did. He didn't trivialize, but he also didn't let it bottom out into something hopeless. It was something beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're all going to go watch the movie on opening night,
Great.
right?
I love it.
We're
That's
all
the
going to go
goal.
on opening
That's the
night,
goal. Well, and I'll tell you what,
October.
yeah, October the 4th, it's going to be everywhere. And I just, what you're saying is accurate. The reason why, Lionsgate, our parent company, is letting us do more and more stories is people vote with their tickets.
Right.
When you go see it in the theater instead of waiting for it to come out at home,
Yep.
that ticket is your vote. It's your voice. And when the
Right.
when the studio sees that work, when we have a Jesus Revolution works, this year they've let us release three films. This will be our third, and we got a fourth coming after that. And so, that's because the audience keeps saying more of this, and we
Absolutely.
keep trying to raise the bar.
That's right. So whitebird.movie, you go there, you buy your tickets for October 4th, you go opening night, opening weekend. And you're right. I mean, as faith film fans, we want more of these. We want
Yeah,
more of the faith films, the inspiring movies that we feel we want to take our friends, whether they're Christians or not. We want to go watch
yeah.
something that is wholesome, inspiring, uplifting. So when people walk away after they go on opening weekend to watch this movie, what do you hope that they will take away from this?
I think the idea of it can be so fatalistic right now with just how much loud fighting and disagreement and hopelessness is permeating the world right now. I think it can make you kind of at times shut down and be like, what good can I do?
Mm.
And I think this little kid Julian just has so much to say, because in the midst of that, he's like, I might not can change the circumstances of World War II, but I can make a difference to one person.
Right.
And so he put his life on the line for not a group of people, but one little girl.
Yes.
And as a result, not only changed her life, but changed generations after her.
Yes.
And so I think that as Christians, if we can just catch that vision to make a difference in one person's life today, that's where we get to change the world.
Amen. Amen. That's really all we have to do as believers.
Yeah,
Reach out
and
for
that's the goal.
one person. Yeah, that's so good. Okay, so you briefly mentioned you have some other projects. Tell us about
Yeah,
what else you have going on.
yeah, we've got some exciting stuff. A couple of them I can't announce yet, but the one I can is after Whitebird, coming out about a month after that. Early November is the movie Best Christmas Pageant Ever. And so this one, Dallas Jenkins that created The Chosen, it's based on the best-selling novel, fictional novel that was done in the 1970s. And Dallas Jenkins took this and he's read it to his kids every Christmas. And he was like, this is a passion project. I have to see this turned into a movie. And so he got the rights to it, had chased it for 10 years, got the rights to it, and then brought it to life. And it like I can't communicate how special this movie is. And it's for the whole family. It's uplifting. It's got heart. And it's basically kind of a Wes Anderson film with heart mixed with a Norman Rockwell Christmas card. And it is a Christmas classic. You're going to love it. So that'll be out in
Yeah,
November.
we're definitely going to love it. I watched the trailer. You guys can go watch it right now. It's online. Just look, just Google it and or go to your website, actually, Kingdom
Yeah.
Stories Company. And it is so funny. Like, you're gonna want to watch it when you watch the trailer. It's like, okay, I need a good laugh. This is gonna be it. So thank you for making that movie in advance.
It's special. I showed it the other day to my wife and daughters, and they kind of they see all my stuff, and they kind of get a little bit jaded to it after a while because they see it all the time. I showed it to them on my computer. It wasn't even a finished cut, and it got to the end. I turned and my wife Mandy's crying, but then I looked at my little 7-year-old Penny Joy. She's bawling, and I look over and she's like, "Dad, I'm crying at a movie. I've never cried at a movie before. This is my first cry." And so she's like, "This is my favorite thing you've ever done." I was like, well, actually, Dallas Jenkins did it, but good job. So
that's so good. Well, it preaches the gospel. Whitebird does. We'll be praying alongside you and your entire team for the impact, just as people of faith, as people who are believers. We want others to come to know the Lord the same as we do. And going to movies like this, bringing your family, your friends, your loved ones to them, it makes a difference. It opens their eyes. It plants a seed. So thank you so much for committing to important movies like this.
I appreciate you, Leah. Thank you for lending your voice as always, and appreciate what you do.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.